Wagwan! Story mother freaking time. So sometime I will. Just pause real quick. Let me put my glasses on. Because I can't really see y'all. You know what I'm saying? There we are. Oh my god. Hello. It's story time. Woo, ladies and gentlemen, it has been a while. Hold on. It has been a while. Anyways, so sometime ago, I was working in this facility. I had picked up a shift. I wasn't super familiar with what was going on, obviously, because I had just picked up the shift. But in a lot of these facilities, there are a certain set of things that remain the same. When it comes to pulling narcotics, you need to have another nurse with you, or it needs to be signed off either at the very beginning of the day or the very end of the day. Either way, narcotics are treated differently than every other medication. It's not going to be treated the same way as Tylenol or ibuprofen or Aleve. You see what I'm saying? So, at this time, at this surgery center, I had my patient. I had one patient. It wasn't a super fast-paced surgery center, so it wasn't like I had 2-3 patients at once trying to recover and send them all home. I had one patient. And so the way it was set up was, you walk in and then you see a nurse's station. It's just the nurse's station, no patients, no anybody. Just the nurse's station. And then you walk a little bit further back and there's about maybe 3 or 4 beds, and those are the recovery beds. And then there's a space, a separation, where all of the operating rooms are. And then you walk through a set of doors, and then there's the pre-op area. Where the operating rooms are, I know that some of this isn't making any sense. I just want you guys to get some sort of gist so that you can understand the story. But where the operating rooms are, in between that space between the PACU and the pre-op, is where you go to get medications, both the narcotics and regular meds, like over-the-counter meds. So anyways, I don't know anybody. I know absolutely no one. Not a soul. So I'm introduced to the charge nurse. She tells me where to go to change out of my scrubs into their scrubs. The day is starting out decent, okay? Real quick, 30-second orientation. If I have questions, I'll ask, like I always do, right? So I have my one patient, as I said, probably about 10 times by now. And I noticed that this other nurse walked in. She kind of looked a little confused. She looked like me, essentially like, oh, I'm registry. I don't know where everything is. So the charge nurse, and at this surgery center there were 2 charge nurses, which is very interesting. But like I said, everywhere is different and there are certain things that remain the same. So there was another charge nurse that greeted her, the other nurse that had walked in, and was like, oh my god, that's great, we have 2 registries today, we're not going to be overwhelmed, da 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 da. She tells her what she has to tell her. I'm minding my business with my patient. And so at some point I end up having to go over to where the medications are to get my patient some medication. That other nurse that had walked in, who looked a little confused and received assistance, she had disappeared beyond that area where the meds are. And I'm like, oh, she's working in pre-op, whatever. But I go over there and I'm about to just pull some Tylenol, meaning I don't need another nurse to co-sign with me. There isn't a special key, there isn't special access. I could literally pull open the drawer, get the Tylenol, write it down, and then go back and give it to my patient and document it. And I see that that new nurse, that other nurse, will call her Erica. Erica was standing there with the clipboard and I was like, oh, did you need help? And she was like, oh yeah, I needed someone to help me with the meds. I was like, oh. Now it dawned on me initially, I'm thinking she's in pre-op. It's not uncommon to give medications to patients in pre-op. Some surgeons want you to pre-medicate. And they'll say, give this, this, and this, because it'll help with the pain management after the procedure. So it's not uncommon, but it's very rare that you're giving a narcotic before the procedure. The anesthesiologist does all the narcotics prior to the procedure. So I was like, oh, I'm not answering any questions, especially because I'm also new here. I was like, let me get the charge nurse. And she was like, no, it's fine. I think I'm just confusing myself. And then she walks back over to the pre-op area. I was like, okay, cool. I grabbed my Tylenol and I'm going back over to my patient. My patient is good to go, but every facility, either some of them say you can discharge your patient when they look and ready to go, their vital signs are stable, they're stable. Some facilities say they have to be there for an hour, regardless of whether they looked good at 15 minutes, 30 minutes, they're staying for an hour. My patient looked good, but this was a type of facility that said they still had to be monitored for that full hour. So I'm just watching my patient. No patients are currently coming out of the OR. Again, it's a slow moving surgery center. Not really sure why they felt like they needed me and this other registry nurse, but whatever. Money is money. I'm taking it. I'm not here to dictate how y'all do things. So then maybe about 35 minutes, I had already given my patient Tylenol. She was saying that she felt like the pain had only went down a little bit. And she had also said that the pain wasn't that much. So I'm thinking, well, if it's not that much, we can do Tylenol. But it had only subsided a little bit, and now it was beginning to climb again. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's just skip the Tylenol. Let's just do a stronger pain medication. I looked at what she was ordered, and it was a pill, but it was a stronger pill. So it was like along the lines of either Percocet or Vicodin or Norco. Those are heavy duty pain medications. Those pain medications are also considered narcotics, and I still need a nurse to co-sign with me. So at this point, I go back over there, but I have to go with another nurse. So I'm asking one of the other nurses who are with their patients if they can come over there with me to pull the medication for my patient. Another nurse agrees. She comes over there with me, and I see the other nurse because, again, I don't know if I mentioned this, but we have to walk through a set of doors to get to that middle section, which is where the ORs are and the medication, and then through another set of doors to get to pre-op. So we walk through the set of doors where the medications are, and that nurse is back, Erica, who looked confused. And I was like, oh, hey, did you end up getting help? And she was like, no, I still need help pulling the meds. And I was like, dang, that's crazy. Are you working over there with anybody else? Now I'm asking her questions, but there's another nurse with me that's staff. And so the staff nurse asks the same thing I was thinking. She was like, wait, what do you need a narcotic for in pre-op? And she was like, well, I'm just following what the doctor told me to do. And so then the nurse that's helping me was like, okay, hold on, hang tight 1 second, let me help me. So we pull my Percocet, and I disappeared to go give my patient the medication. The other nurse that helped me stuck back with Erica and was like, okay, so what is it that you need help with now? I don't hear anything because I'm walking off to give my patient the meds to mind my business. It'll seem strange if I just stand there and I'm like, yeah, so what you need help with? I can't help you. I am also registry. I don't have answers either, baby girl. So yeah, I walked off. Maybe about 5-10 minutes go by and the girl walks back, the girl that helped me. And she was like, that is so weird. Do you know her? And I was like, no, I don't. I don't know why people always assume that registry people know registry people. No, I have never seen that woman a day before in my life. And she was like, okay, she's weird. She's having a hard time understanding like simple orders, which is fine, I guess. And that's what she's saying to me. I guess it's because she's trying not to seem mean, but that's not me. The orders are very simple. And if she was having a hard time understanding it, something ain't right. So then finally, it's getting close to the time for me to discharge my patient. The pain medication has not kicked in because oral medications do not work as quickly as IV medications. So I told my patient, I'm like, listen, baby girl, you have medications on board. They'll probably kick in as you're starting to go home. But at this point, if you really would like to go home at the hour, I can't give you any more meds. And she's like, it's fine. I'm sure it'll be fine. I appreciate it, yada, yada, yada. She's not pushing it. She's just happy that she got the pain medication. She asks, though, as she's getting ready, do you think I can get a cup of ice to go? The cup of ice is right before that door to enter that area where the meds and the ORs are. I said, sure. Now, there are certain doors that have that little rectangular window. I look in as I'm getting the ice and I see Erica standing there again. I said, what is wrong with this lady? There's no way. You have I know you have a patient back there. How do you have all this time to be standing in the same place? Something isn't right. So I get the ice and I walk back over and I'm like, should I mind my business? Something don't seem right. So then the charge nurse comes to me and she's like, hey, where are you at with this patient? I said, I'm about to discharge her. She's like, cool, go on your break after this. And then she skedaddles and goes through the double doors. And I hear her just in the distance saying, can I help you with something? And then, the conversation, the voice fades away. And then maybe about 30 seconds later, I'm getting my patient up in a wheelchair. And this lady, Erica, haul tails, busses it, like haul tails through the PACU, through the recovery unit and out the door. And so the other nurse, the charge nurse, was like, stop her. I said, what is going on? So the charge nurse is like, she told me that she needed meds for her patient and I'm asking her what patient and she wouldn't answer me. And she has the key in her hand getting ready to open up the narcotic drawer. Homegirl reaches in to snatch the drugs and dips out. How? I had so many questions that I felt I couldn't really ask in that time because as a registry nurse, you go in, you do what you gotta do, and then you go home. How come nobody saw this progressing to this point? Another nurse said, why do you need a certain class of medications for a patient in pre-op? How are you misunderstanding the orders? What are you do? Why do you keep finding yourself in front of the med cabinet, bruh? It turned into this whole ordeal. They ended up having to call the cops. There was a thorough search. They questioned the charge nurses. They asked us just a few questions. Nothing really monumental. But essentially, nobody knew who homegirl was. Nobody. And the charge nurse that saw her coming in was just like, oh, I just assumed she was another registry nurse. What? So homegirl just waltzed. What if she was somebody else who had iller intent? Y'all see what I'm saying? I wasn't even working in a weird area. Like, it wasn't even a strange area. Like, there are certain parts of the world that are well known for crack or heroin overdose, and it just is what it is. I was not in that kind of area. This was just, it was in the middle of nowhere, but it was in the middle of like a decent area that really didn't have a reputation for anything because nothing happened. I was flabbergasted. Either way, they end up sending me home early because it just wasn't busy enough for them to keep me. So I didn't ultimately end up hearing what the complete outcome was. I was still shook that things even progressed that far with that nurse. What I will say is, for those of you, for nurses who are coming into healthcare, or anybody going into healthcare, understand that there are people that will stop at nothing. Addicts will stop at nothing to get what they need to get. It was an interesting experience, to say the least. Anyways, that is the end of that story. I do have a series of announcements for you guys. Announcements. I want to first say thank you guys so much. I have managed to hit 10,000 downloads on my storytelling podcast titled Zaila. And if you'll just stick around, you'll get a sneak peek of why people are loving it so much. You'll get a little snippet of a really zesty, really mysterious and erotic portion of the story. I have expanded my storytelling to an audible version. I just sort of did my own rendition. And again, it's called Zaila. And I'm really excited about how much people are loving it. In one of my previous videos, I posted a preview, like a little sizzle, if you will, to get people a sense of understanding of what this story Zaila is about. But it's super intense, and I love the direction that it's going in, and I love what it has allowed me to birth where it is concerned. So stick around, follow it. I'm going to start actually posting the episodes here, and I'm going to try to do like a still animation of what is actually happening as I tell the story. I'm just doing my absolute best to expand my storytelling in every capacity, and I am so excited. Also, check out my music. I released a new song titled All Yours by Ashley Page. I'm on all streaming platforms. And subscribe, tell your friends, tell your people, call your people and tell them to watch this video and get the views up and the likes up. My goal is to invest in a better videography camera, a better like office space, new like editing space, so that we can really continue to progress and grow. And I'm so grateful for everybody that has been growing with me, especially because one of my projects is in the process of turning into something much bigger, and I'm so excited. And you guys just continue to follow me. Hit up my Patreon so that you guys can see the more closer details, the snippets, and let me know what y'all think. Thank you so much. Stick around. Sneak peeks are coming.
Amidst my panic, I made the worst mistake. I looked over at their intimacy as if there would be answers there. And of course, I locked eyes with Sebastian as he continued to indulge in all that is Zaila. I was startled. I gasped, clutching my chest. He kept her immersed in their bubble of intimacy, sucking and biting at her likely swollen